I'm going to show you how I make one of these grids to do a color study in watercolors. I recently bought this little palette with 12 mg watercolors inside, and I'd like to add it to my color chart book. This is the book that I use for all of my color charts in watercolor, and I wouldn't recommend it because it's not watercolor paper, but since it's where I keep them all, this is where I'm going to put it. I start by determining how many colors I'm going to need, and since there are 12 colors in this palette, I know that I need to be able to fit 12 colors all the way across and leave room to write down their names. And since the width of the paper is 8 inches, I'm going to make the size of the squares 1/2 inch. I start by making a grid where I can add all of my mixes, and then I write the names of the paints on the side and either on the bottom or the top. If you write them on the top, you do leave extra space on the bottom and the side to add additional colors later. So I'm going to start by marking a spot 2 inches down from the top of the paper on one side, and then doing that again on the other, and then connecting those lines. And for my colors on the left, I'm going to leave a 1.5 inch margin to write the names. So I'll go from the edge of the paper, 1.5 inches in, do that again on the bottom, and then again connect those lines. I'll be writing the names of the paint colors in the left margin and the top margin, and now I want to create my grid in the center. And since my squares are going to be 1/2 inch, I mark every 1/2 inch on the paper until I have 12 rows. And then I do the same thing on the other side and then connect the dots. So now I've created all of the horizontal lines and I want to create the vertical ones, and I will do that the same way by lining up 1/2 inch dots along this line and then along this line and connecting them. I'm going to add one additional square this way so that I have one square left for the original color. And now I'm going to write the names of the colors along the left. And now I'm writing the names of the paints along the top in the same order, but I'm keeping the first row empty. And now I'm ready to paint. I'm going to temporarily take the paint out of my favorite palette to use it for mixing, mostly because I just really like to use these little notches for color charts. For this part, I use a spray mister for wetting the colors, a brush, and 2 jars, one for dirty water and one for rinsing. I like to use this round brush, but any size is fine. And I'll start by putting the pure color in this first square. So in this one, I'm going to add cadmium yellow. And now in every subsequent square, I'm going to add a mix of the cadmium yellow with whichever color is listed. And because I also have cadmium yellow listed in this row, I'll have the opportunity to create mixes with the same colors again. There are 2 different ways that I can do this. Sometimes I like to create the same hues in the horizontal rows as well as the vertical ones. So you can see here that I'm mixing Ferrario red with the green to get this hue. And when I'm mixing the Ferrario red with the green here, I'm getting the same hue, but I've added more water so it's a lighter tint. And other times, all of the colors in the horizontal rows are going to lean more towards the colors that are listed on the left. So a good example is the Hansa yellow light mixed with the phthalo blue. In this top row, you can see that it's more of a yellowish green, whereas in the phthalo blue row, the same mix is more of a bluish green. And I'll usually paint the horizontal as well as the vertical rows of a certain color at the same time in order to better see the different mixes. So here I have the cadmium yellow and the yellow ochre mix, and it's more of a pale yellow. And here the cadmium yellow and the yellow ochre mix is leaning more towards the yellow ochre. And here's how it looks when it's all finished.